So hi everybody, my name is Natan. Carlos, hola. So I'm the founder of Nam. Nam means mushrooms in Vietnamese. Don't ask me why, I just like the way it's written. And so that's why I decided to call my company like this. And very briefly, what Nam does is that it upcycles coffee waste into fresh mushrooms and fertilizer. And that's why the slogan of Nam is from waste to taste. That's the logo of Nam, and actually, if you notice, on one side you can see a mushroom, and on the other side you see a cup of coffee. And that is just to show that it's a question of perspective. Because we at Nam believe that waste is only waste because we decided it is waste. When you think about it, waste is an invention from our economic system. And we wanted to prove that you can find business models that are taking advantage of waste to create more value out of that waste. And so that's the whole mission of Nam. The whole mission of Nam is trying to prove that economy and ecology can be reconciled. And that's what we're going after too. But I think Gunter then is going to speak more in detail about all that philosophy. No. Yeah, thank you. But I'm going to speak more in detail about the model of Nam that maybe some of you already know, but I'm going to speak to you about how it works in practice. So everything starts with a coffee, especially here in Portugal. To give you an idea, only in Lisbon, if you take the average consumption per person that can drink coffee only in Lisbon, it's around 10,000 tons a year of coffee waste that goes to waste. It's a huge quantity. But the thing that nobody knows about coffee is that when you make a cup of coffee, you pour hot water. And what does hot water do? It's sterilizing the coffee waste. So coffee waste is clean. Plus, the other thing is that at the end of the day, what you use really with your coffee is the caffeine. That's what you're interested in, the taste. So all the nutrients stay in the coffee waste. It's only around 1% of the nutrients that really go in your cup of coffee. So that means that coffee waste is clean and rich in nutrients. We take advantage of that with our partner Delta Cafe. Actually, in circular economy, one of the biggest challenges when you want to start, at small scale, it's always very easy to collect your waste. But when you want to look at big scale, it's very difficult to collect a lot of waste because we are really good at bringing a product or service to the customer, but we don't have reverse logistics. And so that was the main challenge with Delta Cafe, is how can we collect a lot of coffee waste in an efficient way, because also putting a car on the street only to collect coffee waste is not very ecological and economic. So Delta has a big operation of those vending machines. And there, Delta needs to go nearly every day to clean the machine, make maintenance, collect the money, and put new coffee. And they take advantage of that logistic to bring us the coffee. We're speaking around 200 to 300 kilos of coffee per day, of coffee waste per day. So it's already around 40, 50 tons of coffee waste per year that we upcycle through this process. Then we produce local mushrooms. The whole idea is not only to reuse waste, but it's being as local as possible. So it's trying to use waste from the city to produce inside of the city. So we at NAM decided that every farm we install is not going to deliver any mushroom at more than 15 kilometers from the farm, so that we are as local as possible. We sell the beautiful mushroom, that's how we make money. And then the leftover from the mushroom production is an excellent fertilizer that we can then give. At this moment, we give it to the city of Lisbon that uses it in the gardens and the hortas, and it goes back to earth. So that's how we go from waste to taste. That was my little presentation about NAM, a very concrete case, and I think now Gunter is going to make a broader approach to the philosophy. Thank you.
You know, the beauty of this is to see how young people get enthused, how they acquire the talents, and how they move on. So now my role is to keep on pushing them to go much bigger than the big thing they're already doing. You know, this is transition. Transition is not just copying what has already been done, it's to see it bigger. So I'm very happy that I'm able to announce today that for the first time in 26 years, I was able to make an agreement with someone who never considered me a friend. The company is called Nestlé. In Africa. What have we done? I have been telling Nestlé that they have 2 million tons of coffee waste in their factories every year, and their environmental solution was to burn it. Because they're saving energy, fossil fuels, why not burn? And my position has been, but why do you burn something that you can turn into food, like many young people like Nathan have proven to do it? It was always like, we're not in the mushroom business. Core business logic kills the initiative, until I had an unexpected ally in the government of Zimbabwe. Sometimes things go strange, isn't it? I mean, I would have never expected that I would have a partnership with the government of Zimbabwe, and I think neither the government of Zimbabwe ever thought they would have a partnership with me. But my daughter Chida Govera, who has been doing mushrooms for 25 years, is from Zimbabwe, and the government of Zimbabwe realized that Nestlé was importing mushrooms from South Africa into Zimbabwe at a very high cost to make an instant mushroom soup. And they said to Nestlé, there is this lady here, she's Zimbabwean, she's been teaching everyone around the world how to do it. Why don't you do it with her? We closed the border. Now, you can say that seems to be very dictatorial, but I must say it worked very well. Today, the closed factory of Nestlé is transformed into the largest mushroom farm in Africa. 200 women are receiving the coffee waste from Nestlé, and the coffee waste is converted into mushrooms, and the women are allowed to take the mushrooms that are not food grade quality according to Nestlé standards with them to secure their own food. So they're farming their own food, and Nestlé gets the best of it to dry them and to put them into the mushroom soup. Now, the first project, and that's why it's so interesting, Nathan, the numbers that you've mentioned are fascinating, because you said it's 10,000 tons of coffee just in Lisbon. Well, we're starting with 10,000 tons of mushrooms to make dried soup. Now, if you now see where we come from, the 300 kilograms a day, 400 kilograms a day, 200 kilograms a day, and you make this leap. Now we know we can industrialize. But of course, I'm not going to stop there. My stopping is not at the 10,000 tons of Nestlé now. My stopping is at the 2 million tons. And then we're making a dent in the food chain, because for the first time, since the quality of the mushrooms, and by the way, 0 kilometer is applied in this process. Because the farming is done in the factory, the drying is done in the factory, the making of the soup is done in the factory. All under Nestlé's process and procedures, norms and standards. Which, as you can imagine, if you're outside the factory, it's just about impossible to ever meet it. Certainly when you have 200 women doing the job. And so now we have been able to get completely, as we say it in beautiful English, under the skin of Nestlé. And they're realizing they can increase the amount of mushrooms because they're cheaper, they're more abundant, they have no transport costs. And since the Nestlé Center for Food Research in Abidjan has delivered the science that this is great nutrition, we're in takeoff phase. So I would like you to see the case of Nathan, not just as a case of a great example of how to turn waste into food. No, this is the initiation of a complete transition of a food chain, where I, of course, suggest that you don't do it with Nestlé, and that goes on record here. Don't do Delta. Do it with a local competitor. I of course, we'll have the ham question is, will Delta be prepared to do instant soups with mushrooms? And if they're real entrepreneurs and it's a family-run business, I hope they do, because the cash flow is good. Because I am now being able to use a very simple logic. Don't think Nestlé does it because they like my daughter. The only reason why they do it is they have made clear calculations that this makes good money. And sometimes there is no need to repeat the calculations and get an insight in the calculations of a group like Nestlé. You just say that they've made the calculations. I'm sure they're good because they're not going to take any risk with their bonuses at the end of the year. And in that context, I would like to congratulate you, because basically you started 2016 with the exercise, then you moved on, but of course, boom, that hit the COVID, and that of course complicated. But during the COVID, against all odds, you nevertheless took off in 2021. And I think that's the spirit we need. That is the mindset we need. And if we can complement that, Manuela, with the science, you know, we need to put the science in there. We're not going to rely on Nestlé Research Center in Abidjan. We're going to rely on La Católica in Porto, right? And so what we need is this marriage of the great science, the large-scale industry like Delta that's already well established, and the entrepreneurs like you, Nathan. So thank you all. You made my day.